Hello, Mr. Maldonado. Am I on? Mr. Maldonado, am I on? Anybody in the boardroom? Anybody in the boardroom?
We're here, Ron.
Valuable to do it.
Let's go.
Okay, good. Can you hear me?
I can hear
If we
you, yes.
And the coaches, yeah, these
You just,
Hey.
you're dark.
that's for us.
Yeah, but because I don't have it
Before.
turned on.
Solution tree.
See?
I would
There we
love
go.
to send
Last year, I was-
get a group to go to Phoenix.
Turned off.
So
Lorraine, can you say something to see if I can hear you guys?
Have it.
Well, I couldn't hear you, Ron.
Okay, there you are. I got you now.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Ron. Can you hear us, Ron?
I can't hear you for some reason.
Okay, I was just doing roll call.
How about now? There you are. Okay, I'm here.
Okay.
Mr. Quorum, I didn't know whether you called that person who's not here.
He's getting on now.
Yeah, he's on his way. He was
Okay.
gonna join virtually on his way.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Ms. Jones, I sent it.
Yeah.
I don't have my other phone.
Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, and you did that to me. Good evening, boys, girls, and adults. Thank you for coming. It's great to see kids here. Mr. Widener, adoption of agenda, are there any changes? If so, what?
I do have a few changes and I apologize, board members. I was without Miss Sandoval last week and I made a few mistakes on the agenda and had a few typos and stuff. So let me go over those now. Under item 6, presentations. I'm sorry. Yes, under item 6, presentations. Presentation item B, I had listed that as Dr. Martin and the instructional coaches, but that will actually be myself and Dr. Archambault talking about that. Under presentation item C, we are talking about having a work session this month, and I would like to table that to the work session.
Delete it.
Just delete it.
Delete it from today's agenda. And the same with presentation item D. We will be looking at goal-based budgeting as we build our budget. But we will bring that up in a later work session with the board members. Under consent agenda, we have a bar where it says there that we are purchasing an activity bus. We are purchasing 5 route buses. And we've already approved it, but we need to do the budget adjustment. So instead of activity bus, it is new route buses. And finally, under item 11, action item C, I would like to remove that and table that for a later work session, board meeting.
C?
Item C, yes, sir. We're gonna talk about that tonight, but I would like the board's input on how we do that funding. Those would be my recommendations.
Consideration, that's ESSER funding. Is that the ESSER fund?
Correct. That and I'd like to put that in the work session after I present kind of the goals tonight.
Mr. Jones is on.
Okay.
I would recommend that somebody make a motion to amend the agenda.
Do it, Dr. Gill, Mr. President, I will make a motion to adopt the consent agenda, deleting 6C and D and 11C. And of course, the consent agenda to say new route buses.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second, who's that? Any discussion? Seeing none, call for the vote. Roll call,
Dr. Garashambo,
yes?
Robert Hayes,
Yes.
Richard Jones,
Aye.
Ron Ortiz,
Yes.
Motion carries. Agenda has been amended. Mr. Widener, adoption of minutes.
The minutes from our previous meeting are included there. I did not see any errors. Do you guys move to?
I need to add a statement, and Marina and I already talked about it. Let me make sure I have it there. It's the statement that is added when we come back from executive session. We need to add the statement that would say, ask for reconvening the board meeting, ask for a motion to reconvene into open session, motion that we need to put down, including the persons who did approve, and add the statement, it would say no action was taken and only items listed were discussed. And I'll give you the language for that. With that, I don't have any others.
I move to make that amendment and then accept the,
You recommend,
I recommend that we make a motion
okay,
to
approve the agenda.
amend the minutes and approve them.
Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved, Dr. Whitson.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second,
Second by Ron Ortiz. To make the, to approve the minutes as amended.
Roll call.
Dr. Skylar Shambo,
Yes?
Robert Hayes,
Yes.
Richard Jones.
Aye.
Ron Ortiz.
yes.
Motion carries. Okay, Mr. Weiner,
At this time, we have,
do you have any? Okay, I got it.
tonight, we're gonna recognize two outstanding teachers. We, on November 1st, we had our professional development day. We had a district-wide professional development day. There was a cohort of the leadership team that were in Florida at Synergy Training, and there was a group of us that were here. I tracked throughout the day with the elementary teachers, and Mr. Maldonado tracked throughout the day with the secondary teachers. The topics that we discussed in our professional development day, we talked about social emotional love. And we talked about how we have SEL in our classrooms, how we reach out to our kids who struggle, how do we be those master teachers that that really are caring and caring about the everyday lives of our students. Additionally, we talked about equity. We talked about being culturally and linguistically responsive in our classes. Dr. Archambault and Mrs. Hunt Daly were in attendance at part of the sessions. It was a really great professional development opportunity, I feel, for all of the staff of Grant-Cibola County Schools. At the end of we gave awards at the end, and Mr. Maldonado and I were gifted with the Social Emotional Love Champion Awards. And we were gifted these because we represented the district with our cohorts. And so Mr. Maldonado and I met on Thursday, and we talked about, these need to go to the schools, these need to go to the teachers, these need to be kind of moving trophies that need to go to the people that are really exhibiting social emotional learning and love in their classes. So Mr. Maldonado selected a secondary recipient. I selected an elementary recipient. And at this time, we would like to recognize those two individuals. Do you want to say anything about your
Yes, I
recipient?
do. Yep.
No, silly.
Of course.
How could you think I wouldn't?
You want to present yours first.
Okay. So I want to introduce to you, if you don't already know, Mr. Rio Thompson. Come on up here. I first met Mr. Thompson back in 2016, over here, when I was a substitute teacher. He was the very first class that I subbed in. And I remember going to his class wondering, I don't know what to do. He had a senior English class, I believe. He was on his way to Vegas for a training on football. So, and the thing he said to me is, they have an assignment to do, and if they tell you that they're done, then they're lying. They have enough work to do for 2 days. So I sat in that classroom for 2 days thinking, wow, this class was really on it, right? There's a couple of people who lied to me and said that they were done, and I called them on it. But then I taught English for a year in his department as well. And I've always been impressed with his demeanor, his classroom style, because I did go walk by and always look and cheat. I wanted to take my break and go and see what other people were doing, because I was new to it, to teaching. And then on Wednesday, when we were going through Rizzo's presentation at the afternoon, she had asked different people about what teachers have influenced you. And I know he doesn't look that old, but there are some teachers there who said, was Mr. Thompson, Coach Thompson was really influential in my life, becoming a teacher, overlooking my shortcomings, things like that. And I thought, that was my impression of him when I first met him. And I still don't really know him all that well, but that's okay. He's never invited me over for a barbecue or whatever. But again, I'm wanting to let you know, Mr. Thompson, that people watch you and they see your giftedness and your kid, and they see the influence that you have on other people in the district. And I wanted to recognize that when Mr. Widener asked me, the very first person that came to mind was you. So I want to present this to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
We'll take pictures in a moment. I was with the elementary teachers and have been friends with this individual through the years and have known what a great person she is, have known what a caring person she is, what a kind person she is, and now as superintendent, I get to see her in her teacher role. And she's one of those teachers who brings in things for her kids. She brings in snacks for her kids. She's buying materials for her classroom. She's putting up, whether she has budget or not, she's making her classroom a welcoming, exciting learning environment. She kisses their boo-boos. She does duty, hall duty. She puts her heart into every one of her students. She loves every student that she teaches and really just has so much social emotional love every day. And I've known her as a friend, but now I'm so proud to see how she does this in the school. And Milan Elementary School is so lucky to have her as a teacher. My social emotional love award goes to Nina Barron.
That's my baby.
We're gonna take pictures. Mr. Thompson, do you want to come take a picture with your family? GHS, do you want to join him? Stand with him?
Mike Crest, yeah.
Sure.
Hope you don't mind old River's gonna take a picture too.
Come on over.
That's all we wanted.
No, it's behind every man.
In anything.
Say thank you.
Which way do you want me to know? I need to.
Where would you like?
Camera.
Oh, there we go. Backdrops. We will, we'll see some.
Say thank you. Thank you.
Ready? Get your face.
I was gonna tell him the story about your electrical fire. And how you just went on teaching class. Let me join. Mr. Maldonado, come on.
I'll even smile. I know what you do. Sir.
You're welcome.
Thank you all very much. Thank you. Thank you all very much.
All right, Miss Lena. Who do you have with you?
Actually, my daughter Leah, my mom Edna, and my best friend from way back then. Anyway.
Lisa's gonna share a story about you.
Oh my gosh.
As we take pictures.
I love the stories.
You don't wanna be.
Danielle,
Best friend needs to be up there.
right, Bessie's gotta be there.
So I did receive an email on Miss Barron this morning, and so how appropriate it is to share with you. And so. Oh, okay, one more picture and then I'll share the email. Oh, sorry. Ready? One, two, three, one more. Or three more, okay. And so how appropriate it is to receive this email from Ali Nava. And so it said, "Good afternoon, Ms. Salazar. Please see the attached LEAP transcript for Lena Barron. Please know that Lena was one of our best teachers going through our program, Cohort 4. I have always admired her positivity, love, and dedication to her students. She indeed advocates for the kids in the Grants community. Her students are so lucky to have such a stellar teacher. Please let me know if you have any other questions." So thank you so much for representing.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay,
I told them they didn't have to stay.
Wow.
no, they must stay.
Go vote. Be sure and go vote.
Too late.
Hour and 10 minutes.
Thank you, guys.
7 o'clock.
I thought it was already 7:30 by now.
It seems like it's midnight, right?
Now, it's gonna be, yes, dark.
Okay, Mr. Weiner.
At this time, we're going to begin our presentations. And I am very excited that we have our Mesa View Vikings here tonight to present about their school year. They are doing some remarkable things at Mesa View and are the recipients of a literacy grant from the New Mexico PED. And we've had a lot of excitement from August to now at their school. And so I'm really excited to hear what's going on at Mesa View. So ladies, without further ado, Ms. Amy Arkey is our principal.
Good evening, President Archambault, Superintendent Widener, and executive team and awesome leaders of Grant Cebolla County. Thank you for hosting us. And so we have our little PowerPoint, if you will. And my team, we don't do anything alone, so that's why they're all here. And I just want to stress that to the board and to our executive leadership, that it's never about one person, it's never about I, but it's about everybody. And so we have Ms. Cameron here, and we have our structured literacy coach. They're all gonna say something. I'm not gonna hog the show, but we'll keep it short because I know we are pressed for time. So Ms. Barajas is here right beside me because sometimes this is how we roll. Anyway, you can go ahead and go to the next slide. I'm just gonna go over this one really quickly. This is just a snapshot of some of the things that we did at the beginning of the school year. I called it staff professional development because we're always developing and we're trying to establish our professional relationships. A couple of the pictures are from what we did with Ricky Ramirez, little activity in team building. And then some of the other pictures are just our team when we went to be in the homecoming parade for Grants High. That was supreme. We had a blast. And the Ricky Ramirez stuff is just, he's exquisite. I would love to have him at just my school. I feel like we need that and we owe our teachers a little bit more of support in that area. So next it'll be Ms. Barajas to introduce structured literacy.
So our next slide focuses on our structured literacy grant that we received this past summer. This is something that we applied for last year, and during the summer at the literacy conference, we were able to hear the great news that we received the grant, and we were very excited. At the time, we didn't know everything that it entailed, but we've been learning and growing, and we are just so excited to be a part of this because it has brought some really awesome things to our school. So as you can see in the slide, the picture of our whole school assembly, we actually had the Director of Humanities and Literacy, Mr. Saveto Martinez, come to our school, and he presented all of the students with a book, and he brought New Mexico's reading mascot, Ricky the Roadrunner, down there in the corner. Read the students the book. Everybody was super, super excited, and it kicked off our Level Up program. And we will have our structured literacy coach, Miss Patricia Essig, speak a little bit more about that and the awesome gains that Mesa View has made so far with the program.
Yeah, you can go ahead and advance. Thanks. Just to let you know what structured literacy is, structured literacy has been a legislative initiative by the state of New Mexico. As you know, New Mexico is last in education, and this is something to bring our literacy up. What it is explicit instruction in all aspects of reading, foundational, comprehension, writing, all of that is encompassed, and it's part of the letters training that every teacher, elementary school teacher in the state of New Mexico is required to participate in. The reason it's so important is because one of the ways they determine how to build a prison is third grade boys' reading tests. The boys who fail that reading test, they're building a jail cell for them. Our kids where they need to go. And what we want to specifically show you is a celebration that we're having at Mesa View. If you go ahead and advance, this is what happened. Specifically, our fourth graders this year were our COVID firsties, right? So they did most of first grade online, and we saw that they really needed to catch up on their foundational skills. And so the teachers volunteered to plan one of their pullout times to plan explicit foundational lessons with me for the whole grade. And they come to me even still every single week. And the results have been explosive growth in our iStation scores. Now, are they where they need to be? Absolutely not. They're not. But we are so proud of it. Matter of fact, Miss Otero is back here. She's a long-term student. Her class, not a single student lost a point within the margin of error, with the exception of one who had a death in the family. We had one student have a death in the family. She was kind of outside of it, so we just kind of said that one don't count. The other fourth grade class, 60% of the students showed 10 points or more in growth in reading. And this is with stuff, we don't have all the materials that we need, but we are hoping to spend our grant for the materials that we need to make it go from kindergarten all the way up. And so that was, so here's what we need from our grant money. It is, the next slide. We chose the University of Florida Literacy Institute program. It is a cost-effective, it is a budget-friendly, sustainable program, and we need materials for manipulatives for that. We need the manuals for UFly. Right now, we have one for every grade level, and those are on loan from my office. They have to be returned. We have the money, we want the manipulatives, and also our teachers have volunteered so much of their own time for extra work and extra training. Part of stipends for our teachers and administrators to get those done. They're all permissible in our grant, and we are hoping that those are things that y'all will approve in order for them to use it. And I believe it's, Ms. Cameron? It's all about, and the next slide is Saveto Martinez with one of our pre-K kids reading his book out loud to our students.
I'm gonna interrupt real quickly. I was at that session when the book was read. It's a book about, it's a New Mexico book. So there's hard words. There's words like Bosque. There's words like Rio Grande. There's words that are in Spanish. And that student right there is a 4-year-old pre-K student. The other student that read in front of the class talking about Roswell and UFOs and McDonald's was a first grader, a 6-year-old at Mesa View. So that was really impressive to see those youngsters reading those hard words. So good job, Mason View.
Okay, before I go into my part of the presentation, which is family engagement, I just want to speak a little bit on Debbie Otero. Being the instructional coach and getting to work with her in PLCs, you would never guess that she doesn't have credentials. This woman is fantastic. Talk about SE Love. She has taken those. I believe in her, and her colleagues believe in her. And you know, it's one thing to say that I have this paper and I'm licensed to educate students, but it's another thing to say, you know what? I'm working on my license, but I'm licensed in my heart, and I'm gonna make a difference with the kids that I teach. And this woman right here
And she is an becoming teacher.
She is, yeah, so she's it right here.
No, I couldn't do it without my sport. You know, they have had my back, so they have my back, and then I have the kids' back, and it just works. Teamwork makes the dream work, so it really does.
Good job, babe.
Thank you.
I have family engagement to speak on, and last month, what we have put forth is every month a grade level is going to take a night to work with families on math and reading involvement with their students. And this came about through the ATSI grant that we received. We needed some focal points with a particular group of students who were not performing in the year that they took the data. And so we decided to, as a school, have these family nights, invite these families in and engage in some fun activities that you don't have to get on any kind of Amazon or anything like that. These are all things that you can buy at the dollar store. We're trying to give our parents these foundational skills and fluency skills that all of our kids need repeated, and they can work at home. If you look here, this was our 5th grade night. And this one is one to speak on. It's the Jenga there. It is a large Jenga. I don't know if anybody has ever played Jenga before, where you try to slip out the little wooden pieces and try to not make it fall. Well, this teacher said, you know what? This is gonna get the kids, you know, and the parents and the family around playing. So what she did was she put fluency facts on each one of those. If they pulled it out, they had to tell what the fluency fact is. The answer was like products or, you know, quotients or whatever, and put it up on top. So it's a cool family game that you can do, and she rocked it. And we only had, I think it only fell twice that night. The other one over here, if you can see, we have refreshments every night. And what they really did that was really cool, I'm sorry, sir, is and when they came in for attendance, they had a flag. And it was the same color of the table, as you can see the paper that's on there. They went with the color flag to that table first, so where there was no any kind of people waiting around. It was a nice fluid little thing. And as they received their sticker, they could go and have refreshments. And then Miss Arky took a picture, the kids earned a medal, and that was our night. It's only from 5 o'clock to 6:30, and we had a really good turnout for both nights. Next month, or this month, which is next week, we're having kindergarten with their reading, and then Thanksgiving break, and then the following Tuesday they'll have their math night. So if any of you all want to come, you are all invited to come and see our teachers at work. It's going to be Thursday next week, and it's from 5 to 6:30. And then you have your Thanksgiving week, and then that Tuesday when we come back, they'll have their math night. So they'll do a reading and a math first. And so throughout the course of the year, grade level takes a month, and there you go. It's fun. Miss Barajas, Miss Amy and myself are there, and just for, you know, safety reasons, I guess. Me? Oh, still me. I'm like taking over for the presentation here. The next one is community outreach. This is really cool. So here to the left is Miss Padilla. And Miss Padilla was a teacher at Mesa View for many, many years, retired from Mesa View. And she came to our school to deliver some coats from the Knights of Columbus. And so our teachers recommended students, and they delivered those coats so they could be warm. The middle slide and off to the right there, we had a cancer walk on the eclipse day. And Miss Valdez is really wanting her students to give back to the community. So this year, she's taking it monthly and she's doing something community-based every month. So October obviously was Cancer Month. And we invited the hospital. We were in collaboration with the hospital. All the proceeds, there were vendors there. Some of the vendors donated portions of their sales, but anything that we did that was a donation, like one of our teachers, she gave back like 50% of her sales. Woodsy Wonders was there, we gave like 70% of it. It all went to the hospital, which then went into the mammogram fund. And then the lady right here in the center is Miss Norma Patterson. I'm sure you guys know her. And she was our guest of honor because she was a cancer survivor. And so we had her there with her photo. So kudos to Miss Valdez for making us a part of the community.
And I believe the last one is ATSI. And so back in 2020, 2021, the test data was released showing that we had a subgroup that needed some additional support, and that's our Native American students. So what we did as a team is we basically created an action plan so that way we could get students into the nearing or on target level of success. Now, one of the biggest things is getting those same students to school every day, which becomes part of our concern. However, in our action plan, we started by identifying the academic needs. So that was in reading and in math. And so we've met with our teams, we've met with our NPLCs, or we go and visit classrooms and we offer more support to our teachers who need strategies in teaching, in classroom management, because all of those are important factors in creating successful students. The next part we did was develop a plan for family engagement. And as you can see, we have begun that. We have started that network with our families in order to promote math and reading, which is why we're having a math and reading night for each grade level. And we want our families to see exactly what our students are learning and to also offer them support in the event that they need help with math and reading. Another part was to create our DASH plan. And we didn't only base it off of our root cause analysis, but we also went off of what our students were needing in the specific subgroup, which is the Native American group. We needed to make sure we were honing in on that, whether it would be tapping into our multicultural and equity, just all the things that our students need. They need extra of, we're there to help support that. Now, the 2021-2022 data shows the increase in our student in that specific subgroup already. We've been able to analyze that data, and it's showing our subgroup has made some significant gains. And so we are hopeful that this coming school year, we will see that same increase and hopefully come out of ATSI. And the next thing that we did was to reach out to parents of students who are consistently tardy and or absent. We've been working really hard with our EWS and making sure that we are paying attention to those kiddos who are absent. Our only issue is the tardies. We can record that in Synergy, however, that's not necessarily something that is going to spit out specifics. It basically just shows the amount of students we have in a month that are tardy. And so it was also affecting our tiering of students, and so they were becoming more and more placed in a tier because of tardies rather than attendance. And so we're strategically planning incentives to get these kiddos into school. And I know it's not necessarily the students, sometimes it might be mom and dad who are just a little late. So we're working with them and we are standing our ground on getting those kiddos to school. The last thing is that we will continue to use our data sources and as a driver, but keeping and taking care of our teachers. You know, we talk about SEL, but I feel like our teachers, when they're added one more thing, they tend to become very tired, frustrated, and burned out. And so with our team, we want to make sure that they are all taken care of and that they know that they have somebody to give a backup plan to, whether it's just to take a short break or whether it's something that they need to do and go and sit on Ms. Baraja's fancy couch. You know, there's just certain things that we can do as a team to help our teachers. After all, they're the ones that are doing all the work. And we just want to be that support to them. So our plan for ATSI is a strong plan, and it's driven by our team leaders, by our teachers, and now promoting the family engagement. Parents are becoming more involved too, all for our students. And I don't know if Ms. Barajas has anything else to add? Nothing? Ms. Cameron? Ms. Otero? Ms. Ashton?
One thing, Mesa View is on target to become one of our model schools for the state. I've already recommended them to do it to our program, but this grant will be open again next year. Every elementary school in grants could apply.
And that's all we have for you folks. So thank you. Thank you.
So, and I have one announcement about Mesa View. We are putting the RFP out for construction this weekend, so.
Yay.
We got that moving.
That's the best news ever. Talk about it.
Actually, what happened? We got
We're going
that
to select
moving.
people today, so.
Board members, any comments?
Keep up the good work. All I can say.
Fluency, I heard that.
Yeah.
They need to have that because that's foundational when they're young, because that builds, that anchors them with knowledge of those things that it requires. I think that what I heard just this evening was really profoundly exciting. And I do appreciate the efforts on all the part of all of you in doing the things that you're doing, because it really sounds like you guys are moving ahead fast. And we certainly as a board appreciate that. It's going to fit into the things that we are concerned with, and we hope to be partners with you in the future. And if there are things that need to be done, we would like to see that those things are accomplished for you. So extend our congratulations to all of the staff there, and also to the parents who are participating. And we think we're going to find much more recognition given to you and to your children. Thank you very much. Wow, I'm impressed. Okay. All right.
Good night.
Sweet dreams.
Thank you, guys. Keep up the great work. For the next presentation, I edited who was presenting. It's going to be Dr. Archambault and I. He and I have been working hard to be partners in learning together. We've talked about instruction, and we want to share with the board members kind of a direction that we would like to go with our instructional coaching and our PLCs. I was trained, I worked for a school district about 15 years ago where we were trained in PLCs, and I was fortunate to get to go to some solution tree trainings on PLCs and learn about the philosophies of Mr. and Mrs. Dufour, who are very instrumental in education. And they talk about 4 points in instruction and how that can be incorporated into our teaching for the betterment of the school and the PLC. So Dr. Archambault and I are going to present this.
Let me request Firsties
Yes.
to bring this up, since it's that's the high-tech formal
Academic vocabulary.
academic vocabulary. But board members, as you know, that there's been a shift in how New Mexico School Board Association is looking at what we do as a board. And Mr. Hayes and I went to the regional meeting where they really recommended that we focus more on student outcomes, be much more engaged with that than we have before. Setting goals for all aspects of what we do. And then I was contacted by NMSBA with Mr. Sanchez on considering doing a presentation. And so, because he knew that we were trying as a board to be much more productive and much more effective this for the school year. And so but I said, we don't want to do anything that doesn't include the rest of the staff, the administration and the teachers. So PLCs is an approach that is top to bottom or bottom to top. Basically, it's an approach that says that we all need to use a similar mindset when we're trying to improve instruction. So the emphasis is on school board accountability. How do we become much more responsible in this area? And I thought about it, and my experience with professional learning communities came to the fore because there are certain fundamental questions that I thought were really relevant to what it is that we do as a board. And we need to have a mental framework that we always use when we're at the board meetings or whatever reports we get. We need to always have that as a basis upon which we will be able to understand what it is that we're doing. And so if we would move the screen. Yeah, to the next one. What I have here are the goals. These are the 4 goals that we have in the district, and those we will have until we, as a district, determine to do something different. On the right side is a set of statements by, and I'll show you this. This is from the National School Board Association. It has to do with the same topic, but they're also pointing out that there are certain things that we as a board need to do. We need to ensure that the board's vision becomes a reality. The board should develop a strategic plan and establish policies for implementation. So we've got the strategic plan going. Boards exercise leadership by holding themselves accountable for monitoring student achievement. That's what we've begun to do this fall. We've had quite a number of organized presentations on that. Evaluating programs in light of student achievement goals. To ensure that the board's vision becomes a reality, the board should develop a strategic plan and establish policies. Oh, that's a repeat of the other one. Go on to the next one. And this one is also from the handbook. And it states that these are the things that we need to do. So I went through the listing and it made sense. Number 1, we should establish an accountability process with measurable criteria and an annual review. That's what we've begun to do. We were learning how to do that better. Participate in work sessions to understand accountability measures, including data analysis and how the board administration and staff should use this information. That is also what we're trying to do. And so that it fits into what our approach is. Number three, ensure that the superintendent's evaluation includes accountability measures. Once again, we're also including that. Recognize and reward teachers who consistently produce greater than average student improvement gains. We're starting to see that just by tonight. Support the superintendent's recommendation for dismissal or non-renewal when warranted. Those are the tough decisions we have to make. Ensure the effective and timely communication on the accountability system is in progress. Once again, we're moving in that direction too. And self-evaluation on board goals, we need to do a better job of that. Ensure funding to implement accountability measures. That's what we're learning to do, and is how we're going to use the funds in the future. And then compliance with state accountability measures. We know that we have to do that along. And then finally, ensure that the parents receive annual personalized data on their children's achievement. What I heard from this group just tonight is that they're developing stronger relationships with parents, and that is really critical. Mr. Maldonado?
The next slide.
Next slide.
Oh, it's tilted.
It's Dr. Mutton.
In charge of the.
Oh, okay. Well, this is what you were talking about. These four that you had your experience.
These are the four concepts that every teacher needs to consider when they're teaching a lesson. You know, and so there's four questions there. The first is, what do students need to know? What do they need to understand? What do we want them to be able to do? The second question is, how will we know if they've learned it? You know, how do we know that they've understood the standards and the lessons? The third question is, what will we do when they do not learn it? How are we going to provide interventions? How are we going to reteach? How can we deliver it differently to make sure that they do learn it? And the fourth question is, what will we do when students learned it? And so what's the next step? This is a lot of the important stuff that Mr. and Mrs. Dufour talk about, and kind of how your PLCs should be driven. And so Dr. Martin and I have been talking a lot about what PLCs look like and the direction that we want to go in the future. Do we want to share we'll share the video at the end?
What's the next one?
Essential questions.
Why don't we show that video? Can you show that? It's a real short one. It kind of fits right in there then.
Yeah.
And what they did tonight is exactly what
Yeah.
we could probably categorize everything that Ms. Abuse said into this. And so if you were to use it, if we were to use it, we could say, she did this, they did that, and did that. That's why it makes sense.
They're doing those literacy nights, and it's really good.
Sound. How do you do the sound? Share sound. That's right.
Most
I'm
important.
not sure.
I'm not sure you're right.
Very first, most important,
Still not
again,
sure.
of the big ideas is we have to embrace learning as our fundamental purpose.
I can hear it.
So we make a shift away from our traditional focus on teaching to a focus on learning. One of our great
But it's
friends
not very loud.
is Mark Johnson. He's a superintendent in Sanger, California.
Can you turn the volume up?
The very first and the
On the
most
TV
important, again,
screen
of the
is
big ideas is we have to embrace learning as our fundamental purpose. So we make a shift away from our traditional focus on teaching to a focus on learning. One of our great friends and associates, Mark Johnson, he's a superintendent in Sanger, California, puts it this way. He says, teaching without learning isn't teaching at all, it's just presenting. So is our focus on teaching or is our focus on learning in the classroom? It's cemented that learning is our fundamental purpose, then the conversations within our schools would be very specific, and they would shift away from that traditional focus of a teacher sitting in a classroom, looking at the lesson planning document, trying to decide, what am I going to teach? How will I teach it? How much time will I spend? What materials will I use to teach it? That
I don't know how to
conversation
make
shifts
that
away
sound
from
good.
the individual teacher grappling with it.
Let's let's not delay the meeting.
Same content.
We can do this at another time. Okay, but basically, she's saying the same thing, that actually the Mesa View operationalized this. They basically did this. As you could tell, if you were to have watched it, you just listen, she talked about this and she talked about that, and it is quite relevant to what we're doing. And I thought that was excellent. Here's Lane, I think this is what we used to see, is that you notice the same questions are in the middle, and on the left side are the categories. So the board is always concerned about curriculum. What is it that we're going to teach them? The content standards, and we need to make sure, and that's something that is very important. And then the assessment, we need to know what kind of tests that we're going to use to test that. And then the board will always want to know was, how did the kids, if the kids didn't do well, what are we going to do about it? And finally, results, high achievement. And the column to the right basically are examples of what I think the schools do in their PLCs. If you were to look at this, Dr. Martin, is that these on the right side, these are probably the kinds of discussions that the school PLCs are typically going to be involved with. Well, those are a bit more technical than we would want to do, and I don't think that we want to try to think that we are professional enough to do those things. That's not our role. So, but it basically is what PLCs would do. They do these things, and as we heard them say tonight, is that they're involved with this discussion also. Can we go to the next one? Okay, Lane, this is the extent that I think we're at now. And what we have here is some examples of how the board can make use of the same categories, the same questions. And what you are saying is that the district administration would want to fill in this. We already know what the PLC does. It's just that the district administration and the board would want to be good, strong partners with what the schools are doing in that area. And here are some examples, I think, of the things that we've talked about in the past. And as you look at them, Mr. Whitener, do you see that it talks about the strategic plan, and it talks about those things? So do you see how those are connected to what we do? How do you, as the administration, see this? Do you see that it has potential for us to have the board and the district administration team together on this?
Very much. As a team, we're talking about curriculum. We were in our leadership team meeting today, and we're talking about the curriculum. We had some vendors here talking to us about assessments today, and supplemental curriculum that we can incorporate in, and kind of bringing back the blocks into our classes, and so many minutes of math instruction, and we were talking about our PLCs, and that we do want them to be solid. We do want to be talking this language. And I think with the 5 of you as our board members, we want you to speak the same language and ask those same questions. When we talk about where our funds are going, what we're purchasing, we definitely do want to consider that. So
we get some feedback from the others, how they think this might have some potential.
From leadership.
Well, I agree with you, and I really think So every PLC has to have a direction, and then this will set the solid direction. Our PLC right after we discuss it together. The next, instructional coaches meeting, I actually included it in my agenda. And I gave you a copy of that.
Okay.
We discussed there and, I told them to make sure that every PLC meetings they have with their teachers, those were questions are their focus. The things that they need to focus on. Our instructional coaches are aware of these 4 questions and we'll have instructional coaches presenting when the board is ready to hear them out on how they use those 4 questions to direct their PLCs.
I thought it'd be it's not extremely technical. And the board is a citizens board. So that means we don't have the technical foundation to be able to wade deep into the things as you and the teachers do. But those basic questions are easy for us to follow. We basically use that in the future, and if we can be all aligned from top to bottom and always helping us to understand that what you're doing relates to the first question or relates to the second question, then it starts to organize how we see what's happening in the district. And these 4 questions help us get to the goals. And so we then ask ourselves, are our goals in sync? Are our goals helping us to answer those questions? Is what I could see. So as we're moving forward, as you said, you guys have been looking at the strategic plan, trying to figure out how best to implement the effectively, and this would probably be of help to us. This is what I'm thinking.
Correct.
Okay, what are your thoughts on it?
And I think it's the direction we need to go, exactly. So just based on what we're going to do, item some of the budgets that we create.
That's true. Exactly. Any other comments? I don't want us to spend a lot of time on this. It's just a short snippet, and we can get back to it later on. Okay. All right, so we'll get back to this and continue to build our understanding of this approach as we're going there. Thanks, Mr. Wagner.
Perfect. Final presentation kind of ties into action item A. We have ESSER funds that we have to spend throughout the remainder of the year. 3 years ago, as a part of the pandemic, school districts received ESSER funds, and there wasn't a lot of guidance as to how that money needed to be spent. It was school safety, it was masks, it was air purifiers, it was there to help schools. We have diligently and wisely used our ESSER funds, and now we have a remainder. This year, the New Mexico PED is kind of giving guidance as to how you should spend your remaining ESSER funds.
3 years after the implementation.
Correct. So we've had the money, we've spent money, and truly we were wise with how we utilize the funds. And now this school year, it's kind of gotten to be a more guided process. And so I've been working with Mr. Sanchez and our attorney on, what do we need to do with this money? We had done an RFP a couple of last year. We approved an RFP that we were gonna give mini grants to our stakeholders. We had applicants for grant funding from GCCS. Now, under the guidance of the PED and the laws, that violates anti-donation clauses. And so Mr. Sanchez and I had a really good talk about a week and a half ago, and we talked about what can we do, and he was kind of excited and hyped. He said, Mr. Widener, this is your opportunity to do some really neat things for your kids, for your community. You're trying to address learning loss. And so dream big, you've got this much money to spend. And so I've compiled a list of some of the team and we had some brilliant brainstorming going on, and ways that we would like to spend the rest of the ESSER funding. I did remove the action item attached to this because I want the board's input on how we spend this funds. And so I'm gonna hold off till our work session to really look at the budgeting, but I did compile a list, and it's in the back of your presentations of the things that we would like to do. We talked about having a discovery education program where instead of having 2 weeks of summer school where the kids are stuck at school, we have true discovery education where the kids are learning about a topic. Let's say Miss Barron teaches her third graders about animals, and she's teaching them about animals, and she's incorporating, math lessons into the height of a giraffe compared to the height of a squirrel. And so you're incorporating math in there. You're reading stories about elephants. So she could do a whole lesson on animals. And then at the end of the 2 weeks of summer school, she could take her class to the zoo and give them an experience in discovery education. So we would challenge our teachers to come up with specialty curriculum, a 2-week short course that is something that they're passionate about, something that they enjoy. You could do the science of roller coasters and take the kids to Cliffs Amusement Park, or so we would like to do something like a discovery education summer school program. A big part of our ESSER funds has gone to the growth of CTE and career technical education in our community and schools. We want to keep doing that. We're seeing a lot of excitement coming from the schools regarding CTE. The kids are excited about being in the CTE programs. We have broadcasting programs. We broadcasted our professional development last week. We made videos. We are doing commercials in the community. There's lots of good things that are coming out of our CTE growth. So we'd like to see some hands-on learning centers on the campuses. And so we'd like to kind of keep growing the CTE. We have kids that are involved in career technical student organizations. We have students who have qualified for state conferences in leadership, in agri-science, in welding. And so we have a lot of neat things happening through our CTE programs. We want to keep going with that at the secondary levels. The idea there is that we're trying to meet the needs of our communities. So we want to train our kids to get the jobs in our communities. And so you can see there kind of what we're thinking with the CTE thoughts. We want to do local community tutoring programs where, we've done after school tutoring. We've done that through the years with our ESSER funds. Now we want to do it where we actually have a teacher, maybe an algebra teacher, who goes to Blue Water Elementary and sits there and meets with the kids and tutors the kids and supports the kids. We want an English teacher like Mr. Thompson. He teaches senior English. We want him to go to Acoma and help tutor the kids in that community in their areas. So we'll take the teachers to the communities. And finally, I mentioned earlier that we talked about our master schedules. We want our schedules to be inclusive of 90 minutes of mathematics instruction. We want our kids to have intervention classes. We want our principals to audit their schedules. As we build our master calendar for next year, we want to look at some of those intervention programs and possibly having, 2 hours a day where our kids are involved in intervention programs and kind of trying to bridge those gaps that our kids are facing after the pandemic and really overcome learning loss. So those are some of the big ideas that the team and I have come up with. I will approach this again at our work session when we have a work session and get board input. I think these are some really innovative concepts that can help our kids overcome some of that learning loss. So I want to share that with you. And this is just kind of the initial presentation. And then we will get back to this at a future board meeting and you guys will help me spend that money.
Thank you.
And that concludes the presentations, Dr. Archambault.
Action items. Let's see, yeah.
The first action item A, is along the line of that. I talked about how we would be violating anti-donation clause if we gave out those mini grants to our RFPs. Because it was a board agenda item and it was approved by the board to put out the RFP, I have to come back to the board and ask for a motion to withdraw the RFP for the utilization of the ESSER fund grants. We legally, we cannot give those funds to our applicants. And so my recommendation would be that we withdraw that RFP.
Mr. President.
Yes.
So this on consultation with our attorneys.
Yes.
Is there a motion?
I make a motion, we approve this action A.
Is there a second?
Withdraw.
Is there a second? Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second the motion.
Discussion? We're discussing the two proposals as they were designed in that they did not meet the requirements and would have caused the district to have been in violation of the anti-donation clause the way they were written. And and this is public funds and we are required to ensure that we comply with all federal and state regulations with respect to this and procurement policies. And so, but we are going to be meeting the needs of the targeted students that we have. And that includes all at-risk groups, special ed, English learners, disadvantaged, Native Americans, and also to help with the learning loss of all students who can benefit from these ESSER funds. And that means we'll go back to the drawing board and come up with more impactful programs to address their needs. So that's a clarification or addition to that. Any other comments? If not, roll call.
Dr. Archambault?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Richard Jones?
Aye.
Ron Ortiz?
Ron?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Mr. Widener.
Under our consent agenda, Mr. Maldonado has included a bills and expenditure report for October of 2023. And we also have the bar to move the money to purchase 5 route buses, not an activity bus, 5 route buses. And so I recommend that you approve the consent agenda.
Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Richard Jones, seconded by Bob Hayes, to approve the consent agenda as amended. Yeah, as amended. Discussion? Okay.
Dr. Garashambo?
Yes.
Robert Hayes?
Yes.
Victor Jones?
Aye.
Ron Ortiz?
Yes.
Motion carries.
And now it's time for the superintendent's report. I have one item tonight in the superintendent's report, so I can keep it pretty brief. On October 12th, we had a work session board meeting where we talked about our strategic plan and the strategic plan monitoring tool. The board tasked myself and the leadership team with making it more user-friendly, making it more succinct, making it more holistic and real as a strategic plan and the critical actions that come with it. We've talked about we want to tie our budget to the items of the strategic plan. We want to ask ourselves those questions about what we're doing in our classes, our PLCs. And so everything goes, the strategic plan is the heart of our district. And so the team and I have taken your direction. We've come up with a one-pager that has the critical action items that we feel makes it more succinct. And tonight, this is just a draft. You guys wanted me to have a draft of this tonight. So it has our 4 goals. It talks about our stakeholders. It talks about where we're putting our funds. So much of our money is in human resources. It's teachers, it's custodians, it's employees. But are we putting our budget into the right areas? Are we investing in staff professional development? Are we providing mentorship to those teachers? We want to keep the good teachers that we have. How are we ensuring that we have safe schools, that we have secure schools, where there's no bullying going on? And how are we engaging our diverse communities? Because we have very diverse communities in Cibola County. We have lots of communities and stakeholders in our county. And so I want to share this with you. I hope we have a work session where I can get feedback from board members and kind of see if this kind of matches what you had in mind for making it more succinct. And so that's the draft of our strategic plan modification.
Board members, any questions? We'll wait to the work session when next time.
Exactly.
So we're gonna have better time to explain to. Thank you. This kinds of gives us a focus on things. We appreciate that. The next session, the next item.
At this time, we do have an executive session item. And so I recommend that we go into executive session for a little bit.
Oh, you mean you don't want me, okay.
Very short window.
Short-winded.
No, not winded.
Mhm. Just, excuse me. The executive session is focused on the discussion of acquisition of a building for school districts use pursuant to section 1015-188 open meeting had discussion with the school district attorney to discuss and advise on related to the withdrawal of an RFP under the procurement code, which we don't need to do, and advice on federal requirements on acceptable uses of federal funds intended for remedy of learning loss as pending threatened litigation pursuant to 1015 Meetings Act under the attorney-client privilege in anticipation of and to prevent future litigation. No action will be taken. Only items listed will be discussed. Is there a motion to go into executive session?
Make a motion, we go into executive session.
Motion has been made by Richard Jones to go into executive session. Is there a second? Second by Bob Hayes. To approve to go into executive session as presented. Discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Dr. Guyer Shambo,
Yes.
Robert Hayes,
Yes.
Dr. Jones.
Aye.
Ron Ortiz.
Yes.
Okay.
Motion carries. The board has now gone into executive session at 6:49, I guess.
6:49. Okay.
Thank you.
Now I'll switch you guys.
Is that trash?
I don't think there's anything else after that for
That is, thank you, sir.
staff.
Action.
Oh, yeah, action item on. Okay.
We don't need to be here.
Ron,
You don't have to be here.
No,
we need to.
yeah, please.
Ron.
I'm good.
Ortiz.
Good. 2 action items.
Ron. Can you hear me, Ron?
Ron,
I'm on. Send me that link.
Ron.
You just said send it.
Yes.
Oh, is that what he said? Okay. I'm gonna log off now, Mr.
Before you guys
Ortiz.
leave, let me holler.
Okay.
Steve.
Thank you.
as stated below, receive quarter performances, reports from principals, et cetera, including ESSER funding. Roll call.
How about discussion?
And discussion?
Can we do it like at noon that day?
Sure.
I'm serious.
No. Ron,
I'm sorry?
can we do it at noon time?
Yeah, I'll make sure I get there.
Me either.
Me either.
If not, we'll,
Noon is fine with me.
27th at noon?
Here,
I have no idea.
you have no idea where it's gonna be?
No, I don't know whether my chief executive officer will agree with that. But anyway, 12 noon at this point in time.
Who seconded that?
Ron Ortiz.
I did, yes.
Thank you.
There are some announcements.
What, we haven't done,
Oh, haven't voted.
we haven't voted. Dr. Garashambo,
Yes.
Robert Hayes,
Yes.
Richard Jones,
Aye.
Ron Ortiz.
Yes.
Motion carries. Announcements.
There are some great announcements. We do have Veterans Day recognitions at Cebolleta tomorrow, Cubero on Thursday, Grants High School on Thursday night. And then the district is closed Friday for Veterans Day. And then we do have next week and the Thanksgiving holiday. So there's the listed announcements of upcoming events and
Okay. Future agenda items, get back with Mr. Weiner or myself. Adjournment.
Mr. President?
So the Cebolleta is tomorrow at 9 a.m., is that correct?
Yes.
Cubero is Thursday at 1 p.m.
Yes.
And Grants High School's concert is Thursday at 7 p.m.
correct. Yes, ma'am.
Adjournment.
I make a motion we adjourn.
I second.
Seconded, made by Richard Jones, seconded by Bob Hayes to adjourn the meeting. Discussion? Roll call.
Dr. Garashambo,
Yes.
Robert Hayes,
Yes.
Richard Jones,
Aye.
Ron Ortiz.
Yes.
Motion carries, meeting adjourned at 7:42. 44.
7:44.
Thank you very much.
You're staying in town?
Well, we should have stayed longer. We'd have made it worthwhile.
Oh, you should.